Hey, good morning, everyone. Tractorman 44 here. Hey, the missus decided that we'd like to have a little pavilion or a gazebo. It's not a typical gazebo, but it's going to be a 12 by 16 metal roofed gazebo. So what I'm doing right now is going through the process of squaring everything up so I can pour the piers in order to set the frame that the gazebo is going to set on, or the decking that the gazebo is going to set it on squarely. So what I've done, I've went ahead and set up a set of batter boards on the four corners. And as you can see, underneath each of those balls of twine is a screw that the string is wrapped around, creating us a nice right triangle right here in each of the individual corners. And you notice this end here is a little bit high. That's because this is being built on a hillside. It's got a roughly 26-inch drop in the 12 feet from up there down to here, or from front to back. But the cross point of those two strings is going to reference roughly the center of the hole. Now, it's going to be nominal. It can be left or right, inch, inch and a half, 2 inches or so, because I'm putting 8-inch piers on for the deck material to rest on. This is the center line of the very first post. Now, I'm not telling you this is the way to do it. This is just the way I do it. But logic tells you if you're going to build a square or a rectangular deck, you need to have those 4 points reasonably pretty doggone close to being exact as far as square is concerned, especially if you're buying something that's factory built that you need to assemble, and you have to have that square base in order to rest it upon. Otherwise, everything's going to go up crooked. Your sheet metal is going to end up kind of an aggravation to install if you ever get it installed correctly. But at any rate, this is the best way I've ever found to square up a building. So what you end up doing is you put out your two parallel lines. And it doesn't matter how long they are or whatever. And by parallel, I mean the two lines have to be equal distance, apart. Okay? And then what you have to do is you have to figure out the length and the width of what it is that you want to do. So then you can go ahead and put you in a set of screws that are in line with those parallel lines, hopefully the distance that you need to have for one of the dimensions of the building, either the length or the width. And then you go ahead and go about the business of laying out the other dimension of the shed. Once you get those rough parameters figured out, you can go ahead and set your nails in position, and you can go about the business of just kind of guessing, by placement, if you're square. You can use the calculation of 3, 4, and 5, or 6, 8, and 10 to measure off of the corners, because what it is, 3 foot this way, 4 foot this way will be 5 foot this direction here. And the same thing with multiples of 3, 4, and 5, 6, 8, and 10. If you go out 6 foot and come out here 8 foot, going to be exactly 10 foot across. What that is, that's figuring the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem is how you figure the hypotenuse of a right triangle. If you have a square building, you have a right angle in the corners. So what you need to do is you need to just go ahead and figure out what your layout's going to be. Say this is going to be a 16 by 12. Okay, well, you square your 16, you square your 12, okay, and add those two together, and then take the square root of that, and that's what the corner dimension is going to be from this corner to that corner, and from that corner to this corner, in order for it to be perfectly square. That's a variation of 3, 4, and 5, 6, 8, and 10, etc. 30, 40, 50, whatever. Once you get this thing laid out, if you have a helper, what you can do is take the one corner post and just figure out that mathematical calculation, have your helper hold onto the one corner and go out the distance of the hypotenuse and mark that on that other parallel line. And that's going to be where you need to set that other line for the opposing dimension, and it'll come out correct just about every time. Well, actually, it will come out correct every time. So the way this one figured out, I think it figured out to 245 inches, and that's pretty much what we ended up with. The math worked out correct, and this is what we've got. So if you set a square on each one of these four corners, you're going to see that it's a perfect square. A half a degree or a degree or a degree and a half in the distance that you travel is going to be a very exaggerated distance off of your original mark. Now, of course, this is all adjustable. You can set your sonotubes in your hole, and when you pour your concrete, you can kind of shift a little bit this way, a little bit that way, or whatever, to kind of correct for a little bit of a bad figuring, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that unless you absolutely have to. Another thing too, whenever you're doing piers, what I like to do, I like to reinforce those piers in case those want to flinch or crack off, in the future. You want at least those piers hold together. So here's what I do here. What I do is I just use scrap pieces of 1/2-inch rebar, and then whatever the approximate height of the columns are, I just go ahead and weld together just scraps into a square pattern like that right there. and then as we're pouring the concrete, we'll jostle those right down in the hole, and then in the future, as it decides to crack or maybe flinch off, at least it's not going to go anywhere and have your building slide off of a column. Well guys, we're mixing just a little bit of concrete. Actually it's pre-mixed. You can see I got the kubota. Up on stilts, so it's running as close to the level as you can. No reason to put all that stress on the odd angles on the part takeoffs. But you can see we got everything engaged and we're turning. Now this is just an idle, just a fast idle. So and it's spinning definitely fast enough for me because I can't use the concrete any faster. We got the one up in front poured. We've got the second one poured, and we shot grade, and we're within 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of the correct grade, and we're on to number 3 next. On these holes right now, I'm only able to mix 2 bags at a time, but I can definitely put 4 bags, possibly even 5 to a load in this thing with absolutely no problem at all. Need a little more to top out that last one. I didn't estimate right. Now to give you guys an idea of what I was talking about wanting to put this belt tensioner on here, a lot of the newer tractors have electric PTO. In other words, you have to flip a switch and they just come on. You have to have your tractor idled down and then we'll slowly ramp up the load, but it's still got that tremendous jerk when you flip that switch. Okay, now I've got a sack of cement in there already. Actually, I got 2 bags in there already and a little bit of cement or Portland cement in addition to it, and a little water. And I've not started yet, but I've got the tractor sitting there running. So now you'll see why I put that tensioning on there just like that. No problem with starting it up under load.
Okay, so this all started. I don't know, you can see all the equipment here that it took. Oh, he's dumping cement there into the wheelbarrow. And this all started, all of this stuff. Started actually with a playground. Yeah, mulch. And then I said, well, if we're gonna put the playground over here, maybe I could have a place to sit that's, you know, always shaded. And I've always wanted a gazebo, and you know, they sell these kits where, you know, the average homeowner just buys them and they're easy, follow the instructions, put it together, it's fine. Well, evidently it is not that easy, because we ended up with, oh well, you know, these things called Piers, and there's 6 of them, and string all over, in between 2 trees. And why did we have to move it so that it was off the side and not in the middle?
Off the side and not
right, like in the where it's more level. Why did we have to do it?
Oh, because my lovely bride didn't want it to be so high in the air on the downhill side.
Right. But why didn't we go up the hill where it's level?
Oh, because I have to go through there with my tractors and my truck.
Okay, but if you all will look just beyond there, there's a road right over there.
But I need to come through here.
Why?
Because I can.
But why? Why is the road not suitable?
I'm always doing work over here, guys.
Yeah, but the road is over there.
Well,
it's a perfectly good road.
Yeah.
It's wide enough. It has gravel on it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about parking it in the dirt.
Yeah.
And this over here is within my acre.
But it's on my side. It's on the shed.
No. I get an acre around the house. That was our agreement.
Well, you got it filled up with stuff.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I still don't understand why the road was not adequate. Anyway,
Why don't you watch this going in here?
we're going to watch the rebar going into the
It's my
concrete.
cage, my little rebar cage.
It keeps the concrete from running away. It's kind of like jail for concrete.
I actually got to put a little bit more in before I install that.
All
A
right.
little bit more. The bottom I'm not worried about, but the top, if the top part cracks, that would be something to worry about.
And I thought maybe we'd just have like a concrete pad and it would be fine. You could, bolt it to the concrete.
Well,
I didn't realize that everything had to be level. Seemed like it was level.
it's got to be level.
Well, now it's level. All right.
Ooh, boy, looky there.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to really like this.
So then I had to learn about all these things with string and leveling. What is that machine up there called? That
What's
thing?
that?
Yeah, that thing up there.
Oh, that's that thing you like to shoot. You like to shoot transit.
Yeah. So what is it?
It's a transit.
It's a transit?
Don't you remember? You always told me you like to shoot transit.
Okay. It's a transit shooter. All right, so your average homeowner, yeah, has all this stuff, as well as a concrete mixer, but he had to work on it.
And might I add, it's doing a wonderful job.
It is. It's an amazing concrete mixer.
It's smooth as can be.
Yep, kind of like Betty Crocker.
Smooth as can be, huh?
Yep.
Here, I got to tighten this up again real quick.
What happened to it? It was.
Well, I had to loosen to get the wheelbarrow in.
Oh,
Now, if you back up, you're going to get caught in the twine.
I won't back up. You might see that little shed down there that used to be a pigeon coop. We had a 4-H project where the girls had homing pigeons.
Yeah, but do you remember the story about that?
About the homing pigeons?
No, about that. What that
Oh,
actually
the
is.
shed came from out of the farm. It was the Herkimer shack.
That was a Herkimer shack, yeah.
And Herkimer was somebody who your dad knew.
He was a knight of the road.
Oh, he lived in the Herkimer shack?
Lived in the Herkimer shack when he was stopped by. He was Hobo riding oh heck, I can't think of the name of the railroad. Now it's the Missouri Pacific. But he was riding a railroad, one of those guys, way back in the Depression. And they would put marks on the railroad tracks, and then that would let you know if you could get a free meal, if you stopped and worked a little bit, or if there was other marks that said you could work for an extended period of time. Well, my grandfather actually, used several of those guys quite a number of times. And Herkimer is the guy that would stay there for a pretty good period of time, for several years.
Oh, really?
And,
At a
he thought
time?
So much of it. Oh, yeah. And he thought enough of him before he actually built this little shanty. And that's why we call it the Herkimer Shack, because they took a team and drug it across the creek, and he stayed across the creek right underneath the limestone bluffs, and Herkimer lived in that shanty. This is where, in that little cave that he used to live in before my granddad built this farm, is where I found that hatchet that I call Herkimer's hatchet, sitting in there because I found it when I was just a little kid, and I took it in the old man, and I said, hey, look here, I found this in that cave over there, He's looked at it, he saw, heck, that's Herkimer's hatchet. So you remember that story?
I do now.
Yeah.
But this was like in 1940 something?
Well, that's in the Depression from the 30s up to the late 40s or so. And then
Well, the late 40s it was, yeah.
Yeah, but they were still hobos back then.
Okay.
They were still guys that they just got acclimated to just living on the railroad.
And he just kept doing it.
And they just kept doing it for whatever
Okay.
reason, But yeah, Herkimer. That's Herkimer Shanty right there.
All right.
Shack.
So how old of a person was he?
I have no idea. I can barely remember him and another guy called Smoky Mountain Red.
Well, that was, for you to remember him, that had to be in the 50s.
I say I remember him, but it could be that I'm remembering my dad telling stories.
Okay. Now that makes more sense. Yes.
Those were two of the favorite guys that stopped by.
Okay.
Used to know their real names, but I can't remember them now. I have spent too much time thinking, and I got my mind occupied right now.
Yep.
Is that making you happy?
I am already regretting that it's costing. I mean, this has been a much bigger job than I thought it was going to be.
We haven't even started yet.
I know.
I make a mountain out of a molehill every time you want me to do something.
I know that you always do overkill. Yes.
Well, I had to fix the concrete mixer.
Yes. But we couldn't have used like wood posts.
No. Wood posts be too hard to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Concrete is.
They'd right away.
Concrete is so much easier. They'll be underground. They won't rot. I mean, that's what's holding up our deck, and they're not rotting.
Well, I know, but they're going to wear out one of these days.
Yeah, I know.
So now I got one more bag, and
Okay.
then fill around two of those holes there.
Okay. Well, it's not going anywhere.
Well, we hope it doesn't. If it does, we're in trouble.
Well, it's probably earthquake safe, but I'm not sure it'll be tornado safe.
It's got, it'll be tornado safe because there ain't gonna be no walls on it, remember?
There's no what?
Walls.
It won't blow down because...
No, because there ain't no walls. It's just open all the way through.
So if a tornado comes, so I should run out here?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I don't know if you can see all 6 piers, you know, from this one angle right here. But they're all in. They're all completely in. There's rebar in every one of them. I built cages for the big long ones, you know, downhill. And then, of course, up here in the front, I've got 5 pieces of metal in each one of them, going from the, essentially from the bottom to the top, with 90 degrees bent on them, you know, in different places to where they're going to lock everything together. So we should be okay, you know, at least for the rest of my life. And like I say, this is just part 1, or the very first part to the Mrs. Gazebo build this summer. They get a little Yankee in my county about using sawmill lumber for something like this, you know, because, you know, it is a pavilion and there will be, you know, people on it and everything like that. And I don't have a way to get my material graded off the sawmill. Now, if there was never a chance of ever having an inspection or anything like that, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But in this particular case, I just soon go with store-bought material, you know what I mean? So, hey, hope y'all enjoyed that. This is Tractorman 44 and the missus. Hey, and we're out of here for today, guys.